Hey there, trophy hunters. You caught me just catching up on the latest issue of RC Modeler, the 1967 Nationals, and the Rooster Tail report on it. Yep. Anyway, contemplating my next build. I've got it down here on the workbench. Nothing quite like a Clampton Kai and a KMB outboard, and of course, guided by that good old Futaba radio. What? Hey there, gang. Thanks for joining me back here at Grimracer Trophy Hunter Series. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3PV, which is Futaba's budget FHSS system. I'm not going to give you an opinion on this radio. I'm not going to do a review. This is just going to be information so that you can make a qualified decision on the radio system if you so choose to. Go with a system like this. We'll go ahead and we'll review a few of the specifications for it. I've got my other radios here so that at least we can weigh it to see how it compares. Just some basics like that. So we'll also get into a little bit of the programming and at least talk about the features of the radio. So why don't we get into that? I've got the equipment here with me. I've got my 3PV manual, my trusty highlighter and pen. I like to make notes in the manual. And we'll go ahead and let's get started right here on Grimracer Trophy Hunter Series. Here you can see the manual provides us with a table of contents, safety precautions, definitions and symbols. You know, that stuff it's kind of just part of the deal. But there's some pretty good information in here. So don't be afraid to read that, or take the time to go through it. Storage and disposal, safety precautions, others. And before operating, I'm going to kind of start here on page 7. Now the radio system that I chose was a 3PV with a 304 SB receiver. The reason I chose that receiver is I have used that receiver in the past. It's a non-diversity receiver, so it's the absolute minimum, in my opinion, for model boating if and only if you use the 400mm antenna. It's my choice for how I set these radio systems. I use all diversity receivers, but and I have in the past used the 304. For me, that was the 400mm antenna. You can do whatever you want there. But anyway, this radio came with you can buy it with a couple of receiver choices, and the difference is about $30 or $40 on the purchase. This is about $106. My radio system was about $160 off the Futaba website. So we're going to get here. Telemetry system. Hey, how about that? The 3PV with telemetry. Okay. So that means we're going to be using this. The 304 is a T receiver, so telemetry based. It's T FHSS, telemetry. And what it reports back is the default is receiver voltage. Okay, that's pretty cool. At least it gives you an idea of what the receiver voltage is when the boat or car, boat in our case, is out on the water. However, one of the things you can do with it is you can connect an SBS01V to it. So that's another voltage sensor, but you could check out the voltages of something else. Like if you were an electric boat racer, maybe you are, you could actually check the battery voltage, the onboard battery voltage with that. So that's pretty cool. It does stay here. The 3PV cannot use other telemetry sensors. So that means no GPS, no RPM, that kind of stuff. Again, this is Futaba's budget FHSS system, and so it's a little limited on the sensors that it can use. That's okay. It is a 4-channel radio. What's interesting about that is 1 and 2 are the same, 1 to turn, 2 to boom. 3 can either be put onto a switch or one of the this is DT, what is this? DT3, the DT3 switch, so you can click it down or up for mixture control. That's pretty cool. The fourth, however, is, as far as I understand it, would be for four-wheel steer vehicle. You could change the direction of it. You could, you know, that fourth servo, you could change the end point, stuff like that on its own. So it's kind of a driven part of the steering system. Anyway, but it is indeed a 4-channel radio. You can adjust a fourth servo with it. So by default, channel 3 is on the switch, right on the side of the radio here. This is the default position for channel 3. You can, as I was mentioning, move it to DT3 so that you have a click up or down for mixture control. Pretty nice feature. I was messing around with that earlier. It's not that hard to set up. We'll show you how to do that. Maybe in a little bonus video. It uses 4 AA batteries. That actually works out pretty well. You can put a nickel metal hydride in this, and even an LIFE. You'd take the LIFE out to charge it. The nickel metal hydride, you can purchase a charger for it. But to tell you the truth, this radio is really not going to use up a lot of battery power, and dry cells actually aren't such a bad option. They can work pretty good. They're, you know, easy to change. You know, if you get to the pond and, you know, they're low or whatever. In any case, they are pretty easy to change. It does have a low battery alarm if the voltage gets below 4.2. Pretty typical. Here's the optional battery for nickel metal hydride, and then of course here's our battery options. And here's the part numbers for those. Looks like they offer a 1700 milliamp and a 2100 milliamp out of LIFE. And then again, when charging the LIFE battery, it's removed from the transmitter. So then you'll just use your typical, you know, charger if you decide to go that route. I can imagine on this radio system it probably lasts the whole summer. It does have auto power off, and that's actually nice. It's 10 minutes. So if you don't touch the radio, you leave it on for 4 minutes, or leave it on. After 10 minutes, it'll start to, I don't know if it beeps or not. I guess it doesn't say. This function switch will transmitter if you forget when the steering and throttle switch are not operating for 10 minutes, power automatically turns off. I know that some of my other radios, they'll beep a little bit before they go out. The center button, return to the value by pressing plus or minus keys simultaneously for about 1 second. That's kind of nice. That's basically an enter or a shortcut. Let's see, and here's our basic setup for onboard power systems, and then your standard setup. We're on page 12. This manual is only like 17, I think it's about 18, 19, 21, 23 pages. So there's not a lot there. Gas-powered boats and cars, isolate the receiver from vibration by wrapping it in foam rubber or similar cushioning material and place it so it doesn't get wet. You know, not a bad idea. I actually do wrap all my receivers in a minimum of vet wrap, and I do keep 1/4-inch foam rubber in the shop. Linking procedure for the 304 SB. It talks about that. It's a little different than Super Response or FHSS and the 203 receiver. So again, linking procedure, because this receiver does have telemetry. It's got an S-Bus 2 port where we can go ahead and plug in the other voltage sensor if we wanted to check monitor some other voltage. You could even monitor, well, I don't know. You could monitor voltage of whatever. It talks about that and the linking procedure for that. I went through that, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So during countdown, push and hold the receiver tack switch. The LED will begin to blink red. So it's kind of the same procedure. I've got my poker here, right? Comes with the little poker, and so that's cool. And then transmitter setup procedure. They talk about model reset, servo horn installation, some of the basic stuff, servo operation direction, and then they talk a little bit about electronic speed controls for car racing and stuff like that. Here's the function list: model reset, model name, low battery, system type. Then it goes on to linking mode, and here's that DT3 selection, so you can actually change. I know us boaters, we like our mixture control, so that we're going to switch. Most of us would switch that over. It's nice to know that's available. It's not a dial. I prefer a dial, but at least it has the capability. A clicker like that's not terrible. Throttle trim, channel 4 trim. Remember I was talking about that channel 4 trim, and basically at 4-wheel drive mixing function, the neutral adjustment of the rear steering servo can be made, you know, by pressing the plus and minus key, brake mixing. We got sub trim for channel 1 through 4, steering dual rates, steering endpoint adjustments, throttle endpoint adjustment, channel 3 endpoint adjustment, channel 4 endpoint adjustment. So you can see you do have a lot of adjustment on channel 4. Even though there's really not a dial or a button, it all happens kind of within. 4-wheel steer and brake mixing, steering reversing, servo reversing, throttle servo reversing, channel 3 reversing, channel 4 reversing, steering expo. You know, we don't use that a lot in boats, but we should spend more time with that. I've seen an awful lot of boats that hit really hard at the beginning of the corner, and you know, you can really kind of fine-tune that. Don't be afraid to mess around with expo. It'll feel a little bit weird at first, but if it starts to feel weird, you've got too much in the boat, so just start backing it off. Throttle fail-safe, ABS, model data copy, and then just some information on ratings, and then when requesting a repair. So ratings, that's really kind of specifications, right? Communication method, two-way TFHSS or one-way SFHSS or FHSS. So that T stands for telemetry, right? That's the only one that'll actually bring the information back to the transmitter. The other one, the super response system, the telemetry would slow it down. We don't want that if you're racing in T or in SFHS. The transmitter, here is the, let's see, maximum operating range 80 meters, optimum condition. Well, that's one thing about this radio that can lay pause if you're a model boater. We can get these things out quite a ways, right? And the other systems like the I think the 4PM and the 7PX are both 100-meter systems. So I know that a lot of guys are racing the 3PV, and to tell you the truth, we're probably okay at 80 meters. I can go out and range test this for you if you'd like. Again, this was not going to be necessarily a review, just an informal video, but if you want me to review the radio, that's fine. I'll do that for you. Just leave a comment. And then if you want me to range test this radio, go ahead and leave a comment. If you want me to put this in a boat and race this radio, let me know, and I'll do that. I've got a race, very basic race coming up on 27th of this month, so you know, just let me know. And then we get snow here before after that, so we're running out of time. Then we go on to receiver for the 203, receiver for the 304. It talks a little bit about it. 4.8 to 7.4. No, dry cell batteries cannot be used. We see quite a bit of that nowadays with the Futaba equipment. These servos, the equipment, it requires, I should say, serious battery power for the most part. Dry cells really don't make a ton of power. They're okay, but they won't deliver the current that even a NiCad. NiCad, you can weld with a NiCad. Why don't we go ahead and turn this thing on? Hang tight. All right, here we go. So we've got a press and hold power switch right here, and there it is. I've gone ahead and made channel 1 is called Grim, and you can see I've got 6.3 volts on the in the transmitter, 6.2, 6.3, and here's my menus. Right, you can negotiate the menus through these series of buttons down here. It's really pretty basic. We've got a power indicator light here. Again, we've got our third channel switch here. Our dual rates are here, steering trim and throttle trim. And those are the only adjustments on the system. So, very basic, very clean. This is actually a pretty nice feature right here. It's got a rigid antenna. The 4PM actually also has a rigid antenna, where the 7PX has a rotary antenna. Now, all good. I've not had any problems with any of those in my testing or anything like that. I kind of like this. You know, I mean, that's not a bad feature. That seems pretty reasonable. It's got nice blacked out steering wheel. That's pretty cool looking. Anyway, is it the same pattern as this? Well, no, it's a different pattern. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and to get through the menus. Basically, you can see we can scroll through the menus by pressing the arrow key. You can see we've entered model, and if we keep clicking, it'll send us through that model menu. Right in model, there's basically the home screen. Model, this is model select. I can go ahead and I can select a second model if I choose. I should probably do that when you can see it here. Super easy. Once you're in model, just push a button, select the next model. Want to select the next one? Model 3. Bam. So let's go back to the Model 1. Super easy. And then we'll go ahead and we'll continue to scroll over here to System. There's System. And it's telling us TFH. So let's go ahead and scan over. We can link a receiver here. We can change the dual rate to DT3. That's what we talked about before. Channel 3, we can turn that on or off, and that would be the switch. If you do move your third channel over to here, you do want to turn the switch off, because the switch will still stay active, and if you flipped it, you'd have 100% throttle throw. So you'd want to turn that off. I can show you that in a little bonus video. And then over in systems, we've got dual rate percentages and left and right trim adjustment up here. You can see it's flashing. And channel 2. This is steering trim for all 4 channels. Oops, I buzzed past that. Here's our dual rates. Here's our endpoint adjustment. This is 4-wheel drive brake mixing. This is servo reversing. Expo. This is a fail-safe. ABS, that you'd have a brake system for a car. It has ABS, which is cool. Then it has a model copy feature. It's got a 10 model memory, so you can copy from model to model. I'm going to go past this. You can see we're back at our home screen. One of the things I made a note on this quick access and the table of contents, and what that is about is, let's say you're racing the boat, you're in the middle of a heat, and you're making trim adjustments to the right steering. And that's all going real good. You're at 20%, but you're like, man, I've took it back to the beach, worked on the boat, because I don't really care for that. I want it to be centered. You can actually, while the radio's on, go back to that and then push and hold the plus and minus keys, and it'll re-zero that or reset it. And that actually goes for any channel. Let me take dual rates and bring them down. And while I'm in that menu, if I want to just reset it, you push and hold. And that goes for any channel here that you've got access to. Okay, and so that's actually kind of handy. So you could even do that, I believe. And let me look now. Let's say dual rates. Let's minimize the dual rates. Now that I'm in the dual rate menu, I can actually increase or decrease the dual rate percentage in that menu as well. Now again, dual rates is only going to go to 100%. Bam, and I can minimize here too. And this will still continue to scroll through the menus like it did before, but then you won't have to actually go and scroll all the way through. So if you were in the middle of this, let's just get back to the main racing screen, and let's say you're messing with it and you're messing with the dual rate. You're actually in that screen, and you can move over to endpoint adjustment and continue through the menus without going back to the racing screen and scrolling all the way through. So one thing worth noting, probably most important, is if you're in the middle of these menus, you're hanging out over here, and you're like, well, I don't want to go all the way back, just press and hold the negative key, and it'll take you back to the racing screen. Let's see if it does that if we press and hold the positive key. It does. So anytime you want to get back to the racing menu, once you're in the middle of everything, you can go ahead and just press and hold one of the arrows, and it'll take you back to, let's just go over here, the racing menu. So when you're in the racing menu and you want to, let's say you want to mess with, you're in the middle of this and you want to mess with your dual rate, if you click dual rate, now it instantly puts you in the dual rate menu, right? So you could actually go there and you could minimize information in the dual rate. Or you wanted to make a trim change before you launch the boat or sent it out, you could make a steering trim change, and you can see we're flashing the trim dial, and you can make the change here, you can make it here, right? So, and then again, when you're out of that menu, it'll click out and I'm back into the racing menu. So it's not too bad. It seems like it's pretty darn user friendly. It'll take a little bit of time to get used to it, but it's not too bad. It doesn't seem like it anyway. I have access to all those items. So that's pretty cool. And you know what? That's about it. So you can see the radio's really not that confusing, not in my opinion. I mean, I've used them all, and it's a nice basic system. It seems to have all the features that I'd want for model boating for the most part. It also pays to note that this doesn't do, you can't adjust this through the transmitter. You can't, I'm not sure you can do it on the 4 p.m. either. Yeah, you probably can. It does have a COM port. This one doesn't have a COM port. So you wouldn't be able to make adjustments to servos or anything like that using S-Bus. Okay, that's fine. You can still get a CIU2 or a CIU3, put on a laptop and make adjustments to S-Bus servos if you so choose. But surely you don't have to. But anyway, so just a basic review with a Futaba 3 PV. You know what? I don't know. I'm not going to really lay one down on you about the radio. It certainly is a choice that seems like it's a viable option. Again, if you want me to go ahead and actually review the radio, range test it, race it, stuff like that, leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's build this channel a little bit. We really need your help to get these radio systems out there in the hands of people and get them as much information as possible. The more likes and subscribes I get, the more I can do to help support the boating community, at least in this way. Okay? So anyway, I don't know. It's up to you. We'll talk later.